Now, I started the show by talking about this expansion of AmeriCorps. You don't know that this has already happened. With no public input, with no public attention, both chambers of rotten vermin in Congress, the stinking criminals who run America, pushed forward an expansion of the AmeriCorps National Service Plan with the number of federally funded community service jobs increasing from 75,000 to 250,000 street vermin at a cost of $5.7 billion. What is this all about? What it is a street army for Obama to make certain that the military cannot stop him from his attempts to go to the nth degree as to what his program really is. He's creating his own SA, in my opinion. Last summer, then candidate Hussein threw civil liberties overboard when he said he wanted to create a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded as the regular military. Now, the expanded AmeriCorps may not be this, but then again, it may become this. What exactly is this? But then again, we live in strange times. We live in strange and dangerous times. So I ask you what Obama means by this legislation that was just passed by both houses of gangsters. The bill calling for youth engagement zones in which service learning is a mandatory part of the curriculum in all of the secondary schools served by the local educational agency. This was probably written by one of these uneducated dolts that Obama drug up from the streets of Oakland, because that's an illiterate sentence. But this is what the government's going to do. Service learning by the local educational agency? Voluntary community service? What is this? What is he really doing? Well, the House voted for it, and so did the Senate. And what do you think it's going to be? Stalin would be proud, because this is something out of the ex-Soviet Union. Uniforms, mandatory service, children indoctrination, chain of command. If it's not the Hitler Youth, it's the youth that Stalin created in the Soviet Union. Obama is a tyrant, but he's only taking baby steps thus far, not giant steps. If he is not opened up to what he's actually doing, if the people don't understand what he's doing, you will not only see the brown shirts in America, but these very same street vermin who called the cop killer a hero will be in your neighborhood telling you what you should do with your life. And if you think I'm making this up, if you say it can't happen here, I disagree with you. Keeping watch on the people. Left's version of Hitler Youth. Rahm Emanuel's wildest dream. Rahm Emanuel and his brethren come to America and convert America into a fascist dictatorship. You know, I was standing on a roof today doing some repairs at my house, and for a brief moment I looked down off the roof and I thought, you know, if I fell off the roof I wouldn't have to see what's coming to this country. For one brief second, I must admit to you, that went through my mind. I'd be lying if I told you, if I kept this from you. I believe this is the most evil man in the history of the American governmental process, and I believe he's the greatest deceiver that you have ever seen in office. I'll be right back. Now, what are you going to do if they tell you that it's mandatory that you give your children over to AmeriCorps? I'm asking you, what are you going to do? I have a problem with this phrase, a workable, fair, and reasonable mandatory service requirement for all able young people? Are you crazy? It's against the U.S. Constitution. What are you going to do when they come for your children? Your senators and congressmen just voted for this. A few of them said no. Morons voted for this. Psychopathic, liberal criminals voted for this. An Obama youth program? What are you going to do, you good liberals? Did you give birth to your children to turn them over to the government? I can't understand this. I don't understand how this could be happening in front of my eyes. 13th Amendment, conscription were eliminated with the draft. Amendment 13, Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. And yet, the master of the universe, Giggles, has just passed this by buying off the pimps in Congress and the whores in the Senate. By spreading money around, he can get anything he wants. Now, of course, the architect of this is not Obama himself. He's a busy man. The architect is Bill Ayers. His long-term plan has been to school an entire generation. But you're not paying much attention to this. New, as strong, and as well-funded as the U.S. Military Service Organization, the new youth organization could be named the Obama Youth. And after the Messiah guts the U.S. military, he will use them as the military. He'll give them the weapons. I don't understand how this can be going on, but apparently you're too stupid to see that you have fascism brewing in America and that the Congress actually passed this the other day. The other day with no discussion. So, I almost rest my case. I rest my case. This was a popular tune in the early days of the 1930s in a faraway place when another outsider was put into power by the industrialists who thought they could control him. Of course, the rest is history. Let's pause right here. Wer werden wieder marschen, pardon my pronunciation, wenn alles in Scherben fällt, denn heute und Deutschland und morgen die ganze Welt. It's a chorus from a popular tune sung by little boys in little brown uniforms who then went on to kill your uncles and your fathers and your grandfathers. We shall march onwards even if everything crashes down in pieces, for today Germany hears us and tomorrow the whole world. Kind of a catchy little tune, huh? Now you say, am I totally crazy? Am I mad? Well, you could say I'm mad. I'm mad at the fact that we have pimps and prostitutes in Congress who have just voted to expand AmeriCorps to 250,000 people at the tune of $5.7 billion without any discussion or a vote, which will require mandatory service from our youth wearing government-issued uniforms, and nobody knows what they're supposed to do. So, I say to you, who's the mad one, me or you? You who think you know it all? You who think I'm an alarmist? You who think I'm exaggerating what this man is? I don't understand how liberals who are so opposed to uniforms and the military would let their children be conscripted in a volunteer, quote, slash, a government volunteer group for children. I would think even a liberal who has a child would understand what this is. This legislation is not voluntary in nature. It calls for a workable, fair, and reasonable mandatory service requirement for all able young people. It anticipates the possibility of requiring, quote, all individuals in the United States to perform such service, including elementary school students. Doesn't alarm the liberals. The bill calls for youth engagement zones in which service learning is, quote, a mandatory part of the curriculum in all of the secondary schools served by the local educational agency. What does he mean by this? And what will be required reading? Will it be Mein Kampf, My Battle, which has a new title called The Audacity of Hope? You know that Hitler, Marx, and Stalin published many books about their struggles as a youth. Obama has many books out as well about his struggles as a youth. And yet we have pimps and prostitutes in Congress who have just given him a blank check to take your child away. Supremely frightening. Liberals are asleep as usual, or drugs. America is going down the drain. We have a dangerous man running this country with people who are either drugged or drunk on money. I don't know which or both. White House. It doesn't mean that Pol Pot was necessarily an evil man. He probably started out as a nice guy, but he felt it was an unfair nation, Cambodia, and he wanted to make it fair, and he wanted to redistribute power and wealth. And the best way to do that would be to take those with eyeglasses and force them to work as laborers. And what did he use? He used idiotic children who had no education, who were tough and strong, to beat the middle class into submission. Craig, thank you for the call. Now you say, why am I going on about this? Because the law was just passed the other day by the prostitutes and the pimps in the House of Representatives and the pimps and prostitutes in the U.S. Senate. And why did they vote for this? You think they really know what they voted for? Because Obama took your money and promised it to them in their districts for their pet projects. If he would have said you have to dunk children in acid, they might have signed on a dotted line. It wouldn't have mattered to them, you know.